What is going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you on a Wednesday night. It is time for News 6 Weather Live at 9:30. Thank you so much for being here. We're coming at you live on News 6 Plus and on the News 6 YouTube page. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. If you ever had does this happen to you guys? My coffee drinkers out there, there are just sometimes the coffee hits different. Like, that's what's happening right now. We are highly caffeinated tonight, but I've had the coffee at the same time. I've had didn't change the dosage, if that's a thing, just the same K cup, but it's hitting. And we are going to get into some high level stuff tonight as we track the tropics. Of course, we're also watching our local weather as we do on the show across the state of Florida, and it is going to continue to be pretty nice. We are tracking a new cold front for the weekend. It is going to bring the potential for some scattered downpours, especially to the west and panhandle of Florida, where we really do need the rain. The drought monitor comes out tomorrow, every Thursday morning. That's going to be a segment on the show tomorrow night. So tune in for that. With kind of the dry season arriving, we really could use some rain on the west side of the Florida Peninsula and to the Panhandle before we really shut the spigot off for most of the rest of fall and winter. And then we're going to get into the tropics, of course. We're going to start on the Florida side of things, and then we're going to spend more time. I'll probably get my break in on the early side again like I did last night so that we can spend a lot of time just having the conversation about the tropics. There's a lot of uncertainty here. That is the main takeaway that I want right as we get into all of this stuff tonight. So we're going to take a look at some of the uptick in the ensemble signals that are out there across all model platforms. Coming at you live tonight, also taking a live look in Sanford and in Marineland tonight, still dealing with some issues along the coast. If you're along the coast, you know what I'm talking about. It's certainly not as aggressive or not as extreme as what we had over the weekend, but still that high tide, it's coming in pretty high. There's still not a lot of beach out there during high tide, and it's still causing some minor coastal flooding along the beaches, again, courtesy of the extremely high tides. Hey, Allie, how's it going? Elizabeth, what is up? Rick, my friend, Jody, Travel, what is up from across the other side of the globe? Melissa, how you doing? Jody, what is going on? And we are going to get all into this. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going to hit this quick for tomorrow. High temperatures in Central Florida back in the mid-80s. A little bit warmer toward the Panhandle. We're at 87 in Tallahassee, 88 degrees in Tampa. Jacksonville, we're at 80. 82 in Vero Beach, 85 in Miami, and that is going to be because we're going to see a few extra clouds along the coast. We have the breeze off of the Atlantic, so we're kind of climate controlled a little bit going into um, the next couple of days when you have the Atlantic off of when you have the breeze off of the Atlantic. Cold front again tries to work its way back in here through the day over the weekend. I don't think it's anything too crazy in terms of rain for Central Florida, but I do want to show you the timeline here. I think most of the rest of the week is dry, with the exception of a stray shower or downpour along the coast. I think our next real shot of rain comes in with this guy right here. This is going to be lunchtime on Sunday. And notice how we do have rain moving into the Florida Panhandle again. We're fast forwarding to Sunday. So the rest of the week, I think, is pretty dry. We are warmer out ahead of that front. I think we're talking mid to upper 80s. And then you see it right there. A lot of that rain tries to fizzle out. So there could be a few scattered showers still lingering along that front. But I'm not too jazzed about a ton of rain coming into a lot of the Florida Peninsula. So just wanted to talk about that right off the bat and get into the weekend. The weather's still pretty quiet, with the exception of the higher than normal tides that still kind of keeping the beaches all chewed up. We looked at this last night. This is going to kind of quickly transition into our tropical stuff because I'm also going to give out a homework assignment, if you will. I do this from time to time for all of us. I would consider us all kind of weather nerds. I think a lot of us here that join the show on a nightly basis, and I so appreciate you guys taking the time out every night, Monday through Friday, 9:30 in the evening. But as we just kind of watch, I told you this last night. I like to make the call, but I don't want to be wrong in that, and I just don't have enough information to do that. I will tell you, if you're looking at the GFS, look elsewhere. Just look elsewhere, okay? Just do me a favor and just don't put any stock into that one at all. This is where the Climate Prediction Center has highlighted, yeah, it's the entire Caribbean basin, but we do have a pretty decent tropical wave that rolled off of Africa yesterday. And once it gets into the Caribbean, there are some questions. as to what happens with it. I think there are three big scenarios that we are going to take a look at, probably coming up on the other side of the first break, because there are a lot of different model nuances. Now, I don't think I've showed you this yet, or else I showed it last week or I guess 2 weeks ago when we started October. I can't believe we're already through the middle of the month. But this is typically where you would look for any kind of tropical development. This is where, climatologically speaking, um, this is where we get development, either from the Central American gyre, that semi-permanent area of low pressure that just kind of spits out tropical disturbances sometimes, or there could be a late season wave that maybe sneaks in like this one, and can kind of get into the Western Caribbean and then fire up and then lift to the north and then go east. We talked about this yesterday, that we do not want this thing strong in the Western Caribbean, because if it is, it's coming north and then it's coming east. So we do not like that. We've seen this story time and time again. We want it to stay weak and then just kind of bury itself in Central America, and then we're done with it. And of course, we'd be watching for our friends in Central America for some flooding and some mudslides. My circle moved on me. Hold on, I have to move my circle. There is the wave right now, and it's still hanging out there. It's still riding pretty low. And one of this, I mean, there's not a ton with it. So there's not a ton with it. That's one of the reasons models are going to struggle, and especially the operational ones. They're going to bounce back and forth all over the place for the next several days. Before we do head to break, I want to show you, this is kind of just like the overview of the European ensemble. And this is the deal as we move still, again, a long ways away. I mean, we're talking about the potential of something developing in the next 7 to 10 days. You see where we're at. This is Thursday, October 23rd into Friday, October 24th, where we have ensemble guidance suggesting, okay, development greater than 60% shot here that we do get a tropical depression as designated by the European ensembles in parts of in the Western Caribbean, close to Central America. Again, this is on Friday the 24th. So this is, again, 7 to 9 days away from any kind of development. So that is why I get frustrated with some of the models that are put out there, because none of those are going to be correct. We can start to hone in on a few things that we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes, and things to watch. Okay. And we're going to, I think the ensemble the ensemble tell a story. I think I have to reload there we go, my wind here. We're looking at the upper level winds, and just to kind of show you, so Rick is asking, isn't it unusual for a system to drift across the Atlantic this time of the year? It is. It's super unusual. Normally, we're shutting this down second to third week of September, but now we're in mid to late October with waves rolling off, and that is a byproduct of the late season that we had, like with the activity picking up at the second half, keeping the cap on things. Now that we are seasonally cooling the atmosphere, and that's been one of the issues for the storms over the past now 2 seasons. It just hasn't been that unstable. Okay, so what we're looking at here, this is the wind at about 200 millibars. In feet, it's about 35,000 feet. This is where jet aircraft fly. This is way up in the atmosphere. So why do we care about this? Well, this kind of tells us how the atmosphere is going to be behaving. No, do you guys see how the lines, and give a thumbs up, hit the thumbs up button, or post in the comments if you do. You see how we're looking right in through here. Okay. You see how those lines are kind of diverging. They are moving away from one another. They're kind of pulling apart, moving toward Jamaica, toward Central America, toward South America. They are moving away from each other. This shows to us that we have an upper level anticyclone, upper level high pressure. When you are pulling the winds apart aloft, you're evacuating the air up and out. Scientifically, meteorologically, you have to conserve that mass. So, in order to replace the air that's being evacuated, you have to have it converge at the surface to create a kind of circle. That means that we have a pretty pristine upper level pattern. Um, when you get high pressure like this in the upper levels of the atmosphere, um, it's good for the storm, bad for us. So if we do have a developed storm, that's the thing, the storm needs to be developed. The upper levels of the atmosphere are pretty much primed. We know how warm it is out there. It's super warm. Still, the question is, how strong or how organized will the storm be if it gets to the Western Caribbean? We're going to touch on that when we break down some of the ensembles coming up in about 3 minutes after this short break. Post any comments, questions in the chat, and I'll get to them on the other side of this break. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegges. You're watching News 6 Weather Live at 9:30. Now we're going to break down some of the ensembles, and we're quickly already crazy. We're coming up on running out of time. I want to get quickly into this, just kind of show you some of the things that we are watching, because I promise that. One of the things that happened today, and this is okay, is it a trend or is it a blip? What we're looking at here are the European ensemble members. This is from the 12Z run or the morning run. And it clearly shows that we have some stuff going on down here, okay? Where you see all these circles, the oranges and numbers, that's the different ensemble members confidence going up that we have something in there, okay, or in the Western Caribbean. I'll take this further out, and you see that there are some members that curve back to the east, towards either Cuba, maybe Florida, maybe the Turks and Caicos, maybe the Bahamas, maybe the Cayman Islands, Jamaica. Okay, so there's a lot of possibilities with this. Here are the GFS ensembles, and again, I wouldn't put much trust in the operational models, but there we go. You clearly see there's trying to be something in the Western Caribbean. This is the Canadian, and still something in the Canadian, just like that. Okay, so there's a lot of things online. All right, nothing. It's just this is just to kind of suggest. This is not to kind of show a track or anything like that because that's going to be impossible at this point. And then there is the Google DeepMind model, the AI ensembles from Google. Um, how they still have really several different things. They have okay, staying west. They have lifting to the north, and then really lifting to the north and east. Okay, here's how we get all three of those solutions. So there are three different solutions, okay, that we're going to be watching. And this is kind of the homework assignment because all we can do now, as much as it pains me to say, is watch this ensemble trend and watch the disturbance itself. If the disturbance is strong in this part in the Eastern Caribbean, if we have something pretty organized moving through the Lesser Antilles, it's going to feel a dip in the jet stream and then go like that. Okay, everybody see arrow number 1? If it is weak entering the Caribbean, which I personally believe, I don't think this is going to be anything significant for the Antilles. I personally believe this stays weak. The MDR is just not supporting storms this year. We talked about that prior to the season. That has held true in a big way. If it starts to get organized south of Hispaniola, Dominican Republic, into Haiti, and we get something pretty strong out here, then it's going to go somewhere like this. Okay? It's going to feel a tug and start lifting north. If we are to this point and that circle there and it's still pretty weak, it's going to miss any kind of lift to the north by the upper levels of the atmosphere, and then it's just going to get buried in Central America. So this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. I don't think 1 is very likely. Okay, so I personally don't think that 1 is likely. What we're looking at then is the potential for this to stay weak the whole way through and then just buried in Central America if we get number 2 and we kind of get something to start organizing here. It's likely going to do so very quickly under a pristine upper level atmosphere and very warm water temperatures, and then it's going to feel the tug of the upper level atmosphere and then lift north. We do not want option number 2. This is like, let's make a deal. We do not want door number 2 because door number 2, that puts Florida in play, that puts Cuba in play, that puts the Bahamas in play, puts the Cayman Islands in play. Okay, so I know I have a bunch of questions there. Should we be worried about this? And I don't think we should be worried. We have literally 10 to maybe even 15 days. If this was going to take option 2, if it was going to come in weak in the Eastern Caribbean, find something that it likes, and then lift north, this is hypothetical. When we're talking 10 to 15 days away. I repeat, we are talking 10 to 15 days away. And this is my frustration with some of those models that are being shared because there is no way what is being shown today is going to happen 15 days, 10 to 15 days from now. So all that stuff is just straight up garbage. It's stuff like this that you want to look at. And again, all that we can do now is identify the camps that the ensemble suggest and then the things to look for. So, is it going to be weak in the Caribbean? Is it going to be strong entering the Caribbean? Where is it organized? Again, if this is just a naked swirl, it's not going to do anything. Like, that is still on the table that this doesn't develop at all. It is. It's probably on the lower end um based on an uptick in ensemble guidance, but that's why it's going to be critically important to watch through the weekend what happens to that ensemble guidance. So I would not be afraid. I would not be worried. We're just in watch mode now, and so there's nothing to be worried about. Let's see. In the middle of the Caribbean, we're talking like the 24th through the 25th. So I mean, it's like 8 to 10 days away. With a question, what date would it be? Right where option number 2 is. That's like the 24th through the 26th. So when I say like we're jumping the gun on talking about this, we're jumping the gun talking about this. But the reason why we're talking about this is because it's all over the place, and I want to give you the best possible information that I can give and not just some crazy model runs that are 384 hours out. So that's why we're talking about it. Alrighty, guys, I have to get a quick break in. Yeah, 891 is crazy. I don't know that we get to 891. I mean, that would... Does that break Wilma's record? Hold on. Trivia, what was Wilma's lowest central pressure? Was it that? No, it was not. 882. I was gonna say I thought we got into the 880s. 882. So that's the record. Most intense storm ever in the Atlantic Basin. 882. Crazy stuff. There is super high end potential if there's a shell getting into the Caribbean. But that's what I don't know. Is there going to be a wave there? There's a wave there now. Is it going to survive anywhere? I don't know. Okay, I just blew through my second break. So we're just going to hang out for another 3 minutes here. Let's see. It sprinkled today because we had a wind off the Atlantic. So there was a 10% shot for rain today. And you got it. You should play the lottery. You got it, Jody. Thanks for being here. Trying to go back to some of the comments here. If it hits South America too, it's game over. So that's the other thing too. It could stay drifting. I guess that's option 4. There is a fourth option. So option 4 is that it runs into South America and it just dies. It's running. I mean, that's a possibility. So we like. I mean, option 4 is the best because then it gives some beneficial rain to South America, and then that's it. Anything else impacts land. So, anyway, I really appreciate you guys tuning in for the conversation tonight. It's why I love the show so much because it's interactive. I like to get your thoughts. I like to see what you're seeing out there on the interwebs. It's a crazy place these days. But as much as I would like to come to a conclusion 10 to 15 days out, like seriously, like I would, it's just, it's not possible. And as much as I hate to say that, because I know that's, that's my job, is to find a solution, is to figure out where this is going. We just don't have a lot of data. The wave is weak. It's going to get closer to the Caribbean. We're going to get hurricane hunters in there. I mean, it's going to take a while for it to get there, but holy cow. Thanks, George. I appreciate that, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for the commentary. Thanks for the comments, for sure. So yeah, we're just watching, but this, I use the word fun loosely because believe me, I do not want to I do not wish this on anybody. I want this hurricane season to ride into the sunset with being mostly unscathed from land impacts across the entire country and the Caribbean and Bermuda. Nonetheless, this is the challenge. This is this is what we have to figure out. This is what we're working with. And this is the homework assignment that I talked about earlier in the show. Which door is it going to take? I personally don't think it's door number 1. I don't think it's door number 4. So that leaves door number 2 and door number 3. In those two possibilities, door number 3 is going to be the best outcome. Yes, it would bring heavy rain to Central America, but it would be a weak windstorm. Number 2, don't like that one because all of those strong members, all those pink lines, that's where it gets real strong. We don't want it to start organizing around Jamaica. That's where we're going to have some problems. But again, that's the biggest question. What does that wave look like when it gets into the Eastern Caribbean? That's what we have to figure out. Alrighty, guys, I have to run. Have to get ready for News 6 at 10. If you're in Central Florida, if you're watching on News 6 Plus, you know the drill. Keep it parked right there. We're going to have your Central Florida forecast and, of course, all of tonight's top headlines. We're back on the news side of things on the TV at News 6 at 11, and I will show you the latest forecast data and all that stuff. The next model runs, by the way, come out. At least the full suite will be out by 3 o'clock in the morning. So I don't want to say we're going to know a lot more tomorrow because we're not, but it's going to be interesting to see if the uptick trend holds tomorrow. And that's what we look at. We see if we keep on building on a trend. I hope it all Thanos snap goes away, but we're going to see what happens. Enjoy the sleep, my friend. We will see what happens with this. Good to see you back on the live chat. Hope you're doing well over there. And we will catch you guys tomorrow night, 9:30. We're going to have the latest ensembles. We'll break all this stuff down and see if there's any kind of trends or anything else. There might be nuances that we need to look at over the next 7 to 10 days. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate the conversation. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow night, 9:30.